Hey everyone, Dan here. We are just after market close on Wednesday, June 9th. Today we're going to take an updated look at Skillz and see if there's still the potential for a short squeeze or what's going on with the most recent short data. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And let's jump right in. So here we see Skillz had a bit of a pullback toward the end of the day today. Let's get a little bit closer in to start with. So here's what our 5 days have looked like. I'll talk about why this chart's such a mess in a second, but a nice solid run up here, clearly in a few day channel here, and then it broke out, about just before midday today. Tried to catch itself at that 23.51 that we had charted quite a while ago, and then just fell back through and had a pretty rough end of the day. If we zoom back out, and I can kind of talk about what we've been kind of looking for a while from the charts perspective, ever since it was up here over 32 and had this wild beat downward, accumulated like 30% plus of its float being shorted, all the way down to 12 here. We'd put this purple box in, and if you've watched my other videos, purple generally means bounce zones, dip buy, high potential for bounce zones. So, basically what I was saying at that time was anything in this range is a really good price to look for price strength and to dip by that bounce. And, what do we see here about mid-May? Started this huge run up through this white box, which this white box was my thought at the time was, we're potentially going to get really stuck here because there's a lot of price activity. So I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of spends a lot of time in here. What we saw was it spent several days in there and then was able to bounce itself out and make an attempt for the 23.51 support, but lost that today and now is heading back down toward the upper bound of this white box, which is about 21.25 on the top end. What I was looking for at the time also was for an upper price target here of low 26s to high 26s. That's what I was looking for us to sort of squeeze into. Haven't made it there yet, but obviously this is far from over. It could get a lot of support right where it is now because of the previous support and resistance right there. As you can see it, if you try to just draw a relatively flat line over, that whole space, resistance, 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 support, bumping up. Now could we get another retest of the support and then jump up and make a run toward that 26? I think that's certainly possible from what we're seeing on the chart, but that is a little bit TBD. All right, let's take a look at the short data, kind of figure out what the shorts have been doing and kind of where this wildness is coming from. Here we see the data that we looked at last time. The most interesting thing here to me is the $1 billion value, the dollar volume being sold short being over $1 billion at the moment. So there's definitely a lot riding on anyone or any institutions, short sellers that are taking these big short positions. There's a lot of money at play. Obviously 17.13% uptick from the previous reporting date. So lots of shorts still piling in, over 30% of the float being shorted. And so that's extremely high, as you know. And this has just been on this wild uptick for several reporting dates, really looking for that 5/28 or 5/31, whatever the correct date will be, for the next reporting date to come through to see what this looks like, because you see the percentage of flow being shorted has just been climbing quite significantly reporting date to reporting date. So I'll be interested to see what happens. We look here on the sort of daily activity, the fee to borrow Skillz has had a nice rise since like the beginning of May. Got itself up to 35% on the 19th and the 20th, and then has come down a little bit since then. So today was sitting at 22%, so still not cheap. But it would be great to see something in the 40, 50, 60% range to really put a bunch of pressure on the shorts that are still in this one, to make them not only be losing money if the stock price goes up, but also incurring a very high fee to just sit and hold and wait to buy back these borrowed shares. So from interactive brokers, at least, just 75,000 available just before close today. This is basically what the day looked like. It got very scarce there at a time. So we see close yesterday was 150,000 available. Very quickly, shorts came in this morning and borrowed a bunch, right? And got it all the way down to 50 was all that interactive brokers had at one point to loan out. And then there was some covering that happened just before noon. And that sort of is how the rest of the day played out. So interesting to see that there was this huge drop off at the end of the day. We'll have to sort of see what the next 15-minute increment that we get the reporting in, it'll be interesting to see what that says, because this doesn't very well account for or line up with exactly what we saw here. So 1145 is the price that we're looking for when a bunch started to cover, and you do see it continue down a little bit, but that could be from just the momentum of it getting dragged down. But then you do see a decent rise up, but then why it started to sell off so strongly at 12:45 or 1 o'clock or so is kind of a mystery as it pertains to what you're seeing from the short data, because unless, again, interactive brokers could just be an outlier, there could have been a bunch of shorts borrowing from other brokers and flooding the market with those. So that could certainly have happened, and it wouldn't show up here. But it could also be that some folks sort of just got spooked from this, right? This is pretty can it kind of shake a lot of the retail traders loose when they see this wild run up, and then all of the gains that you gained in the run-up just disappear, just evaporate in the course of an hour or two. So we know that can certainly cause folks to panic sell, as that could be potentially what happened there as well. Might not have necessarily had anything to do with the shorts, but don't know. If we look at the data in terms of the short volume ratio, still see very high short volume ratio here in the mid-20s. That still is very, very high at yesterday's close. And the volume itself could use some sort of more uptick support. We see here we're all the way up at 56 million on the second, 17 million. So it's kind of been waffling around in the single digits all the way up to about 20 million. But, if it's going to make some big pushes up again, I think it's going to need to see a bunch of bullish volume come in. I just think if a bunch of volume does come in, it will be bullish, is probably a better way to put it. But the shorts are definitely continuing to come in regardless of what that interactive brokers data said as it pertained to today. Day over day as a whole, we're seeing them continue to keep this short volume ratio very, very high. On this end of things, here we have half of the shares are being held by institutions, so it'd be interesting to see sort of how that plays out over the coming days as well. Are institutions also kind of selling larger positions, or are they continuing to hold those, or even could they be taking some, thinking that there's a floor that's being established here and there's a bunch of room to claw back? That'll be telling as the days go on, for sure. If we look at the volume analysis from today, a bit more sells than buys, actually pretty close. I think probably because it was this wild up then down then up then down day. So lots of volume spread out, predominantly in this $24 range. So we don't have a lot in here from all, where it's finished all the way down here at 22. The average price is $23.90. But if we come down here to look for the 22s, let's see, there's 22.50 here, 22.37, 22.53. So on the lower end of, where the volume was coming in, but certainly much, much more sell volume on these than buy volume. So that's definitely looking like it's spooking a bunch of people out of their positions at that price. Let's see if they don't have any updated short interest. But yeah, so that's basically what I'm going to be looking for from Skillz. Very quick support here at this price point where it is right now, lining up with these previous zones. Otherwise, we could see it come back and look at the top of that white box again. That'll put it about 21.20, 21.25, and who knows, maybe it'll need that 2056 support again. But definitely it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think the most important thing that we need at the moment is that end of May data to find out what's going on with the percent and where things sit at that point, and also where the dollar volume sits. Is it still over $1 billion? Is it well over $1 billion now? You know, what's the sort of stakes that these hedge funds, short sellers have in terms of like actual dollar value, skin in the game. All right, well, good luck if you've been playing Skillz or if you jump into this one. I certainly wish you the best, and I will see you in the next video.